And now as he exits Junsao, let's find out what kind of lap time this benchmark from Reg is going to be. This is going to be the pace set for the entire field to beat as Reg comes up to the line, nice and tight to the inside. It's a 107.9, and on medium compound tyres already, we are seeing 107s. I would not be surprised, potentially, for us to see a few 106s this weekend as FFTB crosses the line with a 108.2. It's a solid lap from Reg, but you would expect more drivers to come through with a chance to do even better than that. Marco, here we go, coming to the line. This is going to be a good one. 107.5 for Marco. I definitely think we're going to see some people coming out with some 106s this weekend if 107.5 is the benchmark that we are setting on those medium compound tyres. I don't think that this is going to be good enough to be the fastest time of the session, but we could still see a 107 here from Optic. It's not too bad, even with that mistake that he made. As he comes on the run to the line, again, hugs the inside, crosses the line. It's a 107.8, and with that mistake from Optic, that could have easily been into the 107.5s, 107.6s, I think. That little oversteer moment probably just cost him a little bit, and could we perhaps have another contender for pole position in our midst? I think everybody knows that Marco and Bjarni are looking like two of the most likely contenders for pole position here, just based on recent form in the last couple of races. You know, we could see a Magnus coming to upset the field, perhaps Broadford, you know, maybe even somebody else. Matigia obviously had a very good qualifying session last weekend as well, but I'm wondering now whether Optic here could perhaps just upset the apple cart a little bit. And now as he comes into this tight technical middle part of the track, this is where a lot of quali time can really be won or lost. This is where driver skill takes over, and all the as there's a big lockup there, all the gloves come off through this sector. That's where drivers can really show whether they're a pole contender or not. There was a bit of a lockup there for rank up. He's still 5/10 up on his best time. It's looking like we could potentially go into the 107s here for rank up. I think it's going to be very close, right on the cusp of a 107, 108 for rank up with me in that Alpine as he comes on the run to the line, nice and tight to the inside, crosses the line. It's a 108.1 for rank up. He goes 8th fastest, and I dare say that he will begin to tumble down the order now and see what kind of lap time this is going to be from the man who has been very competitive, P2 in the first 2 races of the season, beaten out only by Bjarni Olsen, who is currently running through the track to set a lap time, and I believe he is about to set it, in fact. He goes fastest with a 107.0 on those soft compound tyres. That is going to be the benchmark for these drivers to beat. Bjarni Olsen, 107.0, not quite into the 106s like I predicted. Could Marco, just laying down that benchmark, perhaps give him an advantage here as Reg goes second fastest with a 107.3 on those soft compound tyres. Let's see what kind of lap times we're going to see from the other drivers here. We have a Kick now coming to the line. That is Massacrator to start. A McLaren now crossing the line. That is Optic to start. And now every lap time we see from here on out will be the final lap time of these drivers. A few drivers coming into the pits, and Crag goes 10th fastest with a 108.1. He'll be disappointed with that, I think. John Marco, 107.1 goes second fastest. Magnus has gone 4th fastest, and Marco can only just beat out Magnus 4th fastest, 107.3 for the Haas driver. He's going to be very disappointed with that, I think. He knows that he could have easily done better than that. He did a 107.5 on those medium compound tyres, only a 2/10 improvement. He will be absolutely gutted with that. As Broadford, out of nowhere, 107.03 for Oliver Broadford. He has just usurped his teammate in that Ferrari, and out of nowhere, Broadford, who I didn't really have as a shoe-in for pole position today, has snatched it from his teammate. And I think that that is pretty much all the drivers who've been around now. Matigia and Bourbon failing to set a lap time. I don't think there's anybody still yet to cross the line. Maybe Koji. Yeah, Koji improves and goes 107.7. But look at that. 107.0 for Oliver Broadford. What an outstanding lap from Oliver Broadford. Beats out his teammate by 6/100ths of a second. Absolutely unbelievable. The two Ferraris, a front row lockout for the sprint race. Rank Up and Craggy, yep, as pointed out by Phil in chat, have set identical times. Rank Up with virtue of doing it first. But Ferrari will start with a 1-2 here in the sprint. And we are going to get ready to go to the grid here now as the 5 red lights come on. And the lights go out. And it looks like that was a very good getaway there for Bjarne Olsen compared to his teammate. Broadford just holding on for now. Will Bjarne look for a move to the inside of the Senna S? Not quite on this occasion. Reg already up into P3. Magnus has already got ahead of Marco up into P5 as well. And it is super close between those two drivers in this fight for P5. John Marco losing position off the start. And already we have a yellow flag. There's a big crash back there. Let's find out who was involved here. I think Optic was involved. Rank Up, Tom and Matigia, all 4 drivers though, have managed to keep going. So there are no DNFs so far, but a big moment there could have potentially brought out a safety car or virtual safety car. All 4 drivers continuing to go. We'll see whether a few of them have damage. Let's have a look through quickly. Rank Up looks like he's escaped unscathed. Tom looks okay to me, maybe a little bit. He's missing a rear wing end plate, but he should be able to keep that going. Matigia's front wing, though, is completely gone. And in these wet conditions, that is absolutely treacherous. So he will definitely have to pit again, as Oliver Broadford has already extended a 1-second gap over the cars behind, as Regmeister, you can see in the background there, has made the move on Bjarne Olsen up into P2. And now he will look to chase down Oliver Broadford in these full wet conditions. So let's make sure that we can see what tyres these drivers are on. So Regmeister actually is the only driver on the full wets, and that might be working to his advantage here in the early part of this race. We might see the rain dry up later, but every driver on those intermediate compound tyres except Reg, who is closing down Broadford at a rate of knots now. Could we see Regmeister making a move for the lead of this race? He needs to do it quickly, because I imagine if all the other drivers have gone on to Inters, they obviously knew something about the race clearing up a little bit as the race is going on. But Broadford, you can see, struggling a little bit in those intermediate conditions. It's a question of, will they be able to get enough heat into those intermediate tyres to make them work, or will Reg just burn out those wet tyres because it's just a little bit too dry to make them work? At the moment, it's looking like Reg has played an absolute blinder here. He's made his way past Bjarne, and now it looks like he might make his way past Broadford as well. The gap is only 0.3 of a second. If Reg can find an opportunity here to make the move on Broadford as he closes down even closer, his rear wing is practically pushing along the gearbox of Oliver Broadford on lap 2 here. As we make our way now into Junsao, is Reg close enough to go for a move? I don't think so on this occasion, but look how close he is. You could see he was trying to sneak up the inside. Oliver Broadford is just so slow compared to the Williams driver here. Will Reg be able to look for a move into turn 1 here as they make their way down the pit straight? 2/10 is the gap. Reg burning a little bit of battery, moves to the outside. I think he's going to do it here, you know, Reg, but Broadford brakes nice and late. It's going to be super close as they go wheel to wheel through the Senna S's. Broadford not giving this one up. It's super close between the two of them, but I think Reg, when all is said and done, is just going to have the measure of Broadford, but not quite. Broadford is fighting back through the Curva do Sol, and as we make our way now down to the Descida do Lago, you can see that it is still wheel to wheel between these two drivers. I can't say who's going to come out on top of this one, and neither does either driver want to give this one up. But as they make their way now into the second sector, you can see that Reg has just managed to overtake the two Ferraris and get himself up into P1. That was an absolutely incredible battle. Reg was not prepared to give anything up there for that position, and he has just overtaken Oliver Broadford, and now he has to try and break away. It is really difficult with no DRS. You have to have a bit of a tyre advantage over people. That's why Reg was able to do it. You are waiting for drivers to make mistakes, and I think Magnus might have just made one because suddenly Arian is all over the back of him. Is he going to go for a move down the inside into turn 1? It's super close between these two drivers. Can Arian hold it round the outside on the exit of the Senna S into the Curva do Sol? I think he can, you know. It's going to be super close, but Magnus just holds on to the position there as they exit the Curva do Sol. Bourboin's having a tidy little race here, you know. He didn't really have a particularly impressive qualifying. I don't think that he actually managed to set a lap time, if I remember correctly, but he is definitely setting some fast ones today. He's managed to keep himself on the track, and he might now try and break away from FFTB and see if he can catch up to this train of John Marco, Magnus, and Arian, as Arian looks like he's looking for a move on Magnus here. 1/10 is the gap down the inside into the first corner. And is Arian going to make this move work, or is Magnus going to fight him back as they come through the second and third corners of this track? It looks like Arian just has the advantage, and he has made his way up into P6. Bourbon, your biggest gainer, he's just got past Magnus by the looks of things, or he's going for the move around the outside of Magnus. He's managed to make those intermediates work really well and gone up 10 positions in this race after failing to set a time during qualifying. D-Mub from his disqualification has had a pretty good performance getting up into P10, but we don't know where that penalty is going to drop him yet, and not in the traditional point scoring frame. Meanwhile, Razza has got past Oliver Broadford as well, and he's now up into P3, up 7 positions from where he started. But Reg is the driver who has really impressed me here today. The gap, you can see, is starting to come down now, 2.7 seconds to the car behind. He is going to have more than enough now into this final sector to hold on to this one. Regmeister has one more corner really to navigate. He should be able to take the rest of the lap flat, and then you would expect him to take the checkered flag without any major complications. Regmeister now exiting Junsao. It's a not too long run to the line here, fully flat as he comes through those final couple of corners, tight to the inside, and Regmeister is going to cross the line first to take P1 in the sprint here today. What a fantastic performance from the Williams driver. It will be Bjarne Olsen that follows him home to take P2, and Razza up 7 positions from P10 on the grid. He finishes in 3rd place. Oliver Broadford from pole couldn't convert it into a sprint podium, falls down into P4. John Marco from P3 on the grid, again, he couldn't get a podium either. He will finish in P5. His teammate Arian will follow him home in P6. A fantastic recovery from a poor qualifying from Bourbon there to finish P7, and Magnus will take P8, dropping 2 positions from the start to finish just behind Bourbon. The rest of your drivers are Optic, Craggy, Marco, who recovered a couple of positions after penalties were applied. FFTB, with the penalty applied, will fall down to P12. Rank up, not really pulling up any trees here in this race, finishing P13. Koji falling from P12 to P14. Sheehan having a difficult race, finishing P15. D-Mub from his disqualification in qualifying, finishing 16th. Matigia in 17th after that first lap incident. And Tom Go Prof failing to finish the race. Matigia is about to cross the line. No, that was Marco starting his out lap, but Matigia is about to cross the line. Let's have a look at what kind of lap time this is going to be for the Polish driver in the Haas. Looks like he's going to be in the 117s here. 117.5 for Matigia. Solid performance from him. Failed to set a lap time in sprint qualifying, but could be a good session for him still, potentially. He did a 1 minute through the 2nd sector. Tight to the inside. Could he upset his teammate? No. It's a 117.9 for Marco. So decent performance from him, but he will still want to improve on that here from Bjarne Olsen. It's a 59.5, of course, it's his first flying lap, so no improvement yet, but I do think that that is faster than most of the drivers I've seen coming through here. As at the corner of my eye, I've just spotted there that FFTB has gone 2nd fastest with a 117.4. Let's have a look now. What kind of lap time is this going to be from our championship leader? 117.2 goes fastest. That is the time to beat so far from our championship leader, and there's a reason why he's on top, and it's because he can pull out laps like that when nobody else can. So Bjarne Olsen is our current leader, and I think things are just going to settle. I say that, Regmeister, they were calling him washed in Twitch chat. 116.9. He wasn't Bjarne Provisional Polson for long, because Regmeister has just taken us into the 116s. What a weekend this man is having so far. Next up is Broadford. Let's have a look and see if he is on a lap. He is currently up on his fastest time by the looks of things as he comes through Sector 2. 1 minute flat. He's just down on his fastest time so far, but could make up a bit of time through Junsao, as FFTB has been disqualified from the session. He was having a really, really good session, so that is really disappointing for him. Oliver Broadford now not looking to improve on his best time, but he's being overtaken by Arian there, who is going to cross the line to set the 4th fastest time of the session. Matigia now coming up to the line. He is going to cross it with a 117.1, goes 3rd fastest, and as he makes his way into the final sector, 2/10 improvement for Marco so far, looking like it's going to be a better lap time from him once again, but still I don't think Marco will be mixing it with the top drivers here today. I think he's just a little bit too far off pace wise as he comes through the final couple of corners. Marco crosses the line. It's a 117.2, and it will only be P5 for the man who is P2 in the championship at the moment. Hard to know exactly how good it is when you don't have anything to compare to as a driver in the cockpit, but Bourbon I think will be pretty happy with how he's done so far on this lap. I say that commentator's curse strikes because he immediately invalidates after I said that. Let's have a look at John Marco, perhaps, who is coming round. He is well up on his time. This could be very competitive from John Marco. Crosses the line, 1:17.0, just pips Optic to P2 for the time being. How is this going to be for him? Currently 5/10 up, is looking good. Magnus, meanwhile, has done a 1:16.9 and gone second fastest. Raza, fifth fastest with 1:17.0. What kind of lap time are we looking at for Oliver Broadford here? Reg can't improve on his best time. Oliver Broadford to the line, 1:16.9, but only third fastest. 200ths of a second currently separates our top drivers as Optic has invalidated on his final lap. Bourbon, wow! Where did that come from, Bourbon? 1:16.4. That could be pole. That could straight up just be pole. I was not expecting that from Bourbon at all, but he has absolutely smashed the competition here. There's only a few drivers left to come round. He's 5/10 faster than the nearest driver. Matigia goes second fast with a 1:16.8. We have an Aston Martin about to cross the line. That's Sheehan with a 1:16.9. What does Bjarne Olsen have to say about this lap time from Bourbon Boy? I don't think he's got this. I think Bourbon has shocked everybody. It's a 1:16.5 from Bjarne Olsen, and unless Rank Up With Me is on a good lap here, which he is improving, but I don't think it's quite going to be enough. Bourbon with a smash and grab on pole position. It was his one valid lap of the session. He hadn't set another lap time, and he comes out of nowhere to set a 1:16.4. This has been an absolutely generational weekend of Streamers & Co. Division 1 so far. It is Bourbon Boy who takes pole position for the main Grand Prix there. Bjarne Olsen P2, Matigia P3, Reg, our winner from the sprint, takes P4. It's Magnus in P5, Broadford P6 after qualifying P1 for the sprint. Sheehan, John Marco, Optic, Arian, Raza, Marco in a disappointing P12 for him. Rank Up, D-Mub, Koji, Tom, and then Craggy failing to set a time, FFTB disqualified from the session. Who is going to be the champion of the Brazilian Grand Prix this Tuesday night as the lights come on? And the lights go out, and Bourbon Boy gets away well, but Bjarne Olsen has also had a great start. Reg having a disappointing disconnection there. That is going to hamper his progress as Bjarne Olsen, with a bit of a lock-up there, does make the move into the lead through turn one, and Bjarne Olsen, the man who has won both races so far this season, is leading once again here in Brazil. Matigia up into P3, Oliver Broadford up into P4, Reg Meister is plummeting down the field. That is super disappointing for him. Really unlucky timing, and hopefully he'll be able to get back in here and make his way back through the field very soon. There's battling going on all over the field right now. Bjarne Olsen is leading, but look at how many positions are swapping places. Bourbon struggling to hold on to Bjarne Olsen, quite frankly, and maybe that was just a small piece of inspiration for the VCARB driver in qualifying, as Matigia now is coming under a lot of pressure as he ghosts there and holds on to the position. I feel like there would have been contact there between him and Broadford if not. Meanwhile, we've got a yellow flag behind. That is for Sheehan, who it looks like has had a bit of a moment onto the grass there at the Biku Japatu. And Bjarne Olsen, as we make our way around the final few corners now, is going to come up to the line to lead that first lap. But it looks like Bourbon Boy might be about to fight him back here. Is he going to go for a move down the inside into turn one? No, thinks better of it, but he will get that DRS. DRS now, of course, enabled on lap 2, as it has been for a while. Bourbon will have an opportunity to attack the Ferrari driver here down into turn 4. What are we going to see from Bourbon? Will there be a move? Not on this occasion, as Sheehan retiring in the pit lane. Really disappointing from him. Just had a really difficult start there, and just decided it wasn't going to be worth it for him to have a go here today. It's been a strong start from him, but Bourbon Boy still could take this position. He's had a bit of a difficult run there through Junsao, but again, it just looks like Bourbon is stronger than Bjarne on the corner exits here, and that is going to do wonders for him. If he can just put that power down, put that battery down, it is a very, very easy pass for Bourbon Boy back into the lead of this race as we make our way into turn 4. A little bit of a lock up there, not something he'll be super worried about, I don't think. Bjarne is now down into P2. He is leading Matigia in P3, Ollie Broadford in P4, and John Marco holding on in P5. A gap just beginning to open up there. Meanwhile, Razza looking for a move here on Optic. Can't quite make it on this occasion. It looked like Craggy was perhaps going for a move there as well on Koji, and he has pulled that one off into P11 now for him. And Koji falling further down now behind his teammate into Ferradura. Just has to back out of that one, does Koji, and he will fall down into P13. So disappointing for him. But let's have a look back out in front now at Bourbon Boy, who locking his tyres just a little bit. That is going to allow Bjarne Olsen to stay with him nicely as they make their way down Magulio and into the final sector of the lap. Bjarne, Matigia, all of these drivers will have the DRS again. What does Bourbon Boy have stored in the battery to allow him to hold on to this position? This is a very tactical race for these drivers as far as the battery is concerned, because the ideal situation is that they burn lots of it down these main two straights, the pit straight and the Reta Aposta, and then basically sector 2 is spent the entire time in non-ERS, trying to harvest as much of that battery as they can in order to hold on to those positions in the main straights once again. So Bourbon Boy holds on for now. He definitely had enough battery to hold those positions. So let's ride on board with Bourbon Boy and see how he uses his battery here. He had 100% of his battery full, and how long is he going to spend burning down this straight? Into 70, so he actually does keep quite a lot of it reserved, stays in medium for the rest of the run through the pit straight, and then down into none as he enters the center S's. I'd imagine you see him flick back up into medium as he goes into overtake. Actually doesn't. So I wonder if he's going to burn that all the way down. No, okay. So he only actually burned about 15% there. Bourbon not using as much battery as I thought he was. And actually, things are looking quite good for Bourbon in that case, as we already, I think, had a car into the pits there. That is Koji getting off those medium compound tyres 7 laps in. So he is definitely going to be doing a 2-stop here today. But yeah, Bourbon, with the amount of battery that he's harvesting, you would expect that this is going to be potentially just a strong defense from him. If Bjarne still can't get close to him, even though they're both using the battery to sort of equal effect, you know, you can't count out Bourbon at this point. Will Bjarne be close enough on lap 9 here to make a move into lap 10? It just looks like he's a little bit closer, but the exit of Junsao this whole time has been Bourbon Boy's domain, but the gap is a lot smaller this time, and I think Bjarne Olsen maybe just sniffing an opportunity to get himself up into P1 here in the run into lap 10 as he goes for a move down the inside on Bourbon Boy up into P1 once again, and a fantastic move there from Bjarne Olsen late on the brakes, and he has made his way into P1 again as we have what appears to be a spin there from Rank Up With Me going into the center S's, and he falls down into P13, struggling now on those medium compound tyres. Will he blink early and go for the 2-stop? Or will he still continue to push those tyres on the 1-stop as Magnus there, I think, has had a moment as well down into P13. So difficult races for some of these guys. So Bjarne Olsen continues to lead. Bourbon Boy bringing the gap down with the DRS, with the battery. Thought about going for a move to the inside, decides to think better of it. But someone who is going for a move there is Ollie Broadford round the outside of Matigia. But I think he just goes a little bit too deep and can't quite make it work. And now he is going to have Optic all over the back of him. Could Optic go for a move on the Ferrari driver for P4 here on the run down to the Desida do Lago? Oliver Broadford going to defend to the inside, and in the end, he just can't find a way through on Oliver Broadford. Can Optic, and we will remain as you were with our top 5. Oliver Broadford, though, putting some pressure around the outside of Ferradura on Matigia, and I think Matigia now struggling on those hard compound tyres, maybe. He's falling off from Bourbon Boy, and the whole time, this is going to help out the 2 drivers out in front if Oliver Broadford and Matigia are battling over this P3 position, the last spot on the podium. Oliver Broadford will be very keen to atone for what happened in the sprint. Matigia will be very keen to atone for the penalties he picked up in Mexico, which stopped him from getting a podium there as well. So both of these drivers perhaps a little bit of a point to prove this weekend, but as things stand, if Bourbon Boy and Bjarne are maintaining their battle for the lead here, only one of them will be able to atone for that. Bourbon Boy going for the move into turn 1. It's very easy with the DRS for him on this occasion, and Bourbon Boy and Bjarne just happy to swap at the moment as Rank Up With Me has retired on track. So it is looking like we are going to be seeing most of these drivers now going hard medium, including Koji, who has already stopped, but he's got a big gap in front of him that he has to close down if he wants to compete with most of these drivers who I do believe will be doing a one-stop. Bjarne Olsen has got back past Bourbon Boy with the DRS, and this is fantastic racing between these two. Broadford now getting back involved in this fight as these two continue to squabble a little bit here, and it looks like there might have been an incident perhaps between Rank Up and Magnus, which is the reason for Rank Up deciding to retire himself from the race. Bjarne Olsen holds on in the run into the Descida do Lago there and will hold on to P1 from Bourbon Boy. Bourbon Boy, though, very close on Bjarne Olsen, looking like he's going to make another move into the lead of this race. And as things stand, these drivers are swapping places every single lap. It is constant between these two. Broadford very close to Bjarne, though, and could Bjarne, his position in P2, perhaps be under threat here from his teammate? I think Broadford, if he burns a lot of battery down the Retta Aposta here, could go for a move into turn 4, but decides against it on this occasion. It's a good question. Someone in the Twitch chat, Wolf, has just put, is it raining in a bit? It's not raining in a bit, Wolf. It's raining now. I've just started to see a few raindrops on the visor. Now I understand why everybody started on those hard compound tyres. The rain is coming down, and within a very short space of time, we could start to see some of these drivers coming in onto those intermediate tyres. I think that was a mistake there for Arian as well, and he's fallen down into P9. So the driver's really struggling to keep the car in a straight line now that the track has got very, very greasy. I think it is time for intermediate tyres, and we will begin to see more and more drivers coming in. Matigi has made a mistake there. He's fallen down the order. Broadford has made a mistake. He's fallen down the order, and that has brought up Optic up into P3. But one man, or two men I should say, who have held on to make their way all the way to the pits is Bourbon and Bjarne, who stays out there. What is he thinking? Bjarne seemingly thinks that he can continue going on those hard compound tyres for now, and he has stayed out on those hard compound tyres as pretty much everybody else has come in. Bjarne and Broadford and Marco are the only drivers who've decided to stay out there. So Bourbon, Crag, Optic, John Marco, Raza, Matigia, Arian, Tom, they're all into the pit lane. But our top three drivers here now are Olsen, Broadford and Marco, who've all decided to stay out for another lap on those hard compound tyres. I think Bourbon is going to be very far in front, and maybe just a little bit of a strategic fumble there from the Ferraris, because you can see how much Bourbon is closing the gap down to the cars in front. It's been about 3 seconds on this lap already, it looks like, as Bjarne does eventually come into the pits. But I think that he has just dropped the ball on this one a little bit, and he is going to be left holding the bag when all is said and done, because Bourbon Boy is going to have such a major advantage over the Faroese driver as he makes his way around the final couple of corners as he gets ready to begin lap number 23 of this race. Only 14 laps to go. Is one lap fresher tyres going to bail Bjarne Olsen out this time? I just don't think it is, you know. Look at how big this gap is going to be between Bjarne and Bourbon. It is going to be far too big for Bjarne to overcome in any short space of time. Surely he's going to come out behind Optic, and he's probably not going to be too far off of the likes of John Marco and Raza, who are battling away in the background. So Bourbon is leading the race now by 2 seconds, and don't forget, he was the one that set the fastest time on those intermediate tyres in qualifying, so we have very good evidence to suggest that this guy is quite good in the wet. Bjarne might have just handed Bourbon the race win there. The problem for the drivers that are in the championship fight with Bjarne is that they are not really capitalising on this. Marco is in P9, Broadford's in P8 with a penalty. They are not going to get big points here today, and Bjarne will actually continue to extend his championship lead over them. Obviously, our P4 in the championship, SLR Jam, isn't here today, so this is a poor race from Bjarne Olsen that is going unpunished by his biggest championship competitors, as Bourbon and Optic is his first race here today in this season. It really is just it's a bit of a fumble, you would have to say, from not only Marco but also Bjarne's teammate Oliver Broadford as well. Really hard for Broadford, especially considering last weekend as well. After the first weekend, I really thought that Broadford was going to be right in this one, but he just seems to be falling further and further away from Bjarne Olsen as things stand. But Bjarne Olsen is not falling further and further away from Optic. It's looking like the move might happen as we make our way onto lap 31. To the outside goes Bjarne Olsen. Will he have the grip to go round the outside of the McLaren driver? I think he just might, you know. But Optic holds on to it for the time being. And this is super close between these two drivers now. But it's compromised Bjarne Olsen's run there through the center S's. And all of a sudden, it's looking like Razor might close down on him. But somehow, he just can't quite capitalise on that. So, with just a few laps left to go now, it still could really be anyone's game for this final spot on the these final 2 spots on the podium. It's just been so superbly handled from Bourbon Boy here. With 5 laps to go, he is doing a fantastic job. I keep saying it. I keep saying I'm running out of superlatives for how well he's done here today. It has been such a shock because I knew very little about him. Other than obviously his performance last weekend, where he didn't pull up any trees in Mexico, but in Brazil he's pulled up the whole plantation. Like, this is one way to announce yourself to streamers in Code Division 1 by taking a shock pole position and then comfortably leading the race with just a few laps to go. He just has to not make any mistakes now. Like, he can afford to take it easy, not too easy obviously, but you know, he doesn't need to push super hard. He can lose 1 second to Optic every single lap and still win this race. With just a couple of laps left to go, I think it might be too late for that to even happen. So really, I think the battle we're focusing on is going to be the battle for that final podium position, or I should say that position fight for P2 between Optic and Bjarne. Is Bjarne going to go for a move on this lap? He's going to look around the outside, but once again, he just can't quite get close enough. But he's going to go for the switchback round the outside and then into the Curva do Sol. He will have the inside line, and he just tries to get back on track there, Bjarne. But he ran himself out of road there. That was not Optic's fault at all. He was taking his normal racing line, and Bjarne just compromising himself. Tried to go for the move, but he couldn't quite do it. It was, it was well done from Bjarne, but I think he just pushed a little bit too hard on the exit of the S, which caused him to lose out on the overtake. I think if he'd have held on through the center S, I think he might have been able to make the move on the inside of the Curva do Sol. But like I said, he just hurt himself a little bit too much there. Oh, meanwhile, Optic has lost the position to Bjarne there, so maybe Optic felt he was at fault there. That looked like he got out of the way potentially. They just swapped positions there. It didn't look like, unless Optic's really starting to struggle on those tyres. I'm not really sure what happened there. It really just looked like he gave up the position. But no, he's really struggling on those tyres. You can see how much he's struggling on those tyres. That was not, I don't think, him giving up the position. I think that was him just struggling on those tyres, because you can see that Razor is so close to him all of a sudden. And all of Optic's hard work might be about to come undone on the final lap here, because those tyres could be really gone here. You can see how much he's struggling to keep Razor behind now. Bjarne's broken away by nearly a second, so Bjarne's definitely going to take P2 here. But can Optic hold his nerve and keep himself on that podium? I think he should be fine with the penalties. I don't think John Marco is going to be able to quite close down that gap, but Optic just really struggled to keep Bjarne behind there, and in the end he just couldn't quite hold on to that P2 position. But now, coming down Magulio and into the final sector of the final lap of the race, is this man in the V-carb here as he comes through Junsao now. It has been a fantastic race for this man, and I imagine he is going to be so pleased with the performance that he has put on today. He had a fantastic qualifying. He absolutely smashed Bjarne Olsen in the beginning of this race. He risked it for a biscuit. It's Bourbon Boy who takes the win here in the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's going to be Bjarne Olsen now coming up to the line to take P2, and Optic will keep Razor behind to take P3 on track. Razor crosses the line from Matigia, and then John Marco will inherit P4 once penalties are applied. Oliver Broadford will take P5, and now Cragg is going to cross the line to take P8 here today, as Razor and Matigia have been pushed down to 6th and 7th. Marco in P9, and Arian now will be coming around the final few corners to to take P10. But for now, I have been your host, Ram Copier. I have had an absolute blast commentating for you guys once again, and I am looking forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday night for a fantastic race, hopefully, around Suzuka